You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network. You're listening to the Beaver Dam Podcast, your source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the OJHL's Niagara Falls Canucks, exclusively on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Now here's your program host, Matt Sanderson. Welcome into the first installment of the Beaver Dam Podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network, the official podcast of the OJHL's Niagara Falls Canucks. My name is Brandon Caputo. I am the owner of the Armchair GM Sports Network, but I'm pleased to going to be passing the torch off to the host of this program going forward, and that would be Matt Sanderson. Guys, before we get going, make sure to give us a follow at Armchair GM Pod, as well as this show's podcast at Beaver Dam Pod. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok as well, and you can also like our YouTube channel where all of our podcasts are posted on demand on YouTube Podcasts, as well as your favorite on-demand audio platform. If this is your first time at the network, thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope that you're going to enjoy all the different programming as we go forward into our next hockey season. We wanted to bring you guys one pilot episode, give you a little bit of taste of what to expect on the Beaver Dam Podcast before we hit our summer break here. And with that said, I'm going to pass things off to Matt Sanderson, who is going to be the host of this program moving forward. Not going to hear too much of me on this show. I might chime in here and there, but it's going to mostly be Matt's show to run, and I'm going to have him introduce our guest co-host today for some great introductory analysis of the Niagara Falls Canucks, past and present.
All right, thanks a lot, Brandon. Yes, as Brandon alluded to, I am Matt Sanderson. If you haven't heard before, I've got an extensive background in broadcasting, and I just love sports, honestly, but I was also the play-by-play or the color commentator for the Niagara Falls Canucks last season, and I get the privilege, the honor to be able to run my own podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network, the Beaver Dam Podcast. And with me for the first ever episode is the co-owner of the Niagara Falls Canucks, Brandon Boone. Brandon, thank you so much for coming in. First of all, that intro music, doesn't that get you hyped up for Niagara Falls Canucks hockey?
Boy, does it ever. Let me tell you guys, I'm so excited to be here, and after hearing that music, I'm ready to rock. So let's go. Brandon, I really, really appreciate being on the network with you, and Matt. Well, we work together all year long, so I think you're going to have to put up with a little bit more of me as it appears as we go along here. So you know what, it was an honor to work with you last year, you and Kurt, and boy, I'm just super excited to be here, guys.
Awesome. So we will be going and covering the team throughout the season. We will be breaking down each week. We'll try to do some post-game, pre-game potential interviews. We'll do some player profiles. So there's a lot coming down the pipe for you listeners. And if this is your first time ever listening to or following junior hockey in the Ontario Junior Hockey League, I have to tell you, it is some of the best hockey out there. I had the privilege to be able to be part of the organization last year with the color commentary. I'll be doing that again this year. But Brandon, there's so much history with this Niagara Falls team. Break us down kind of where it started to where we are now. Many, many years in Junior B there as well.
Geez, yeah. So the history of the Canucks really goes back pre-1970. But they became a Junior B team in 1971, and they joined what's now the OJHL, the Greater Ontario Junior Hockey League, what was then the equivalent, in 1971, and that's 53 years ago for you math majors out there. Fast forward to 1977, the Masterson family took over ownership. From 1977 until 2014, the Masterson family owned the Canucks. And then my partner, Frank Pietrangelo, bought them from the Masterson family. So from 2014 to 2022, Frank and Kim owned and operated the Canucks, and I was proud to join them in ownership in 2022. So from 1977 until present day, 2024, there's only been 3 families that have owned the Canucks. The Masterson family from 1977 to 2014, the Pietrangelo family from 2014 to 2022, and now the Pietrangelo family and the Boone family from 2022-2024. Very exciting. We can talk about our reclassification last year to Junior A, but as a Junior B team, our alumni include 2 Stanley Cup winners. Frank himself won a Stanley Cup with the Pittsburgh Penguins, as you know, played here in 1979, 1980, coached by my father, actually, and I remember being a young guy going to the Stamford Arena and watching the Niagara Falls Canucks and Frank Pietrangelo and some of the great players, Chris Johnstone, one of our assistant coaches, Jimmy Davidson, our general manager, and some of the great players that played back then, Marty Dahlman, and I could go on and on. Going to the Stanford Memorial and watching that team in 79-80. We also had Gilbert Dion play here, and Gilbert played my last season with the Canucks in 1987-1988. Went on to get drafted by the Kitchener Rangers, played in the Montreal Canadiens organization, won a Stanley Cup with the Canadiens. Proud to say that Gilbert was best man in my wedding, and he asked me to be in his wedding party, and we remain great friends to this day. We had Keith Jones on that team back in 1987, 1988, now the president of the Philadelphia Flyers organization. A great Junior B name that some may remember, but others wouldn't. Brian Glennie set the record for the most points in a single season. I think he had something like 156 points back then in 1987, 1988. I think of all the great players. I'm looking up on the wall here at our old team photo, but I think of guys like Craig McCarthy, Phil Roberto, Mike Dunham, Timmy Upper, Wayne Schrapp, just a great hockey team, Ricky White, and just again a lot of history. The Canucks won 2 Sutherland Cups. That's the provincial Junior B championship. They won in 1995, 1996, and then again in 1997, 1998. And I was at the Niagara Falls Memorial actually when in 1998 when Oleg Serkinov scored the game-winning goal to clinch the Sutherland Cup for the Canucks that year. Most recently, we had Mac Hollowell that played here, and some of you might remember that Mac joined the Toronto Maple Leafs last season when they had a number of injuries on defense. Mac played here as a 16-year-old, went on to play with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and played in that organization. Now I think he's with the New York Rangers organization. So, I'm fond of saying that, the Canucks are one of the most respected, stable, and storied franchises in the OHA, but it is truly, truly the case. Historically, one of the most successful teams in what's now the OJHL. 6 appearances in the Sutherland Cup Finals. Most recently won the OJHL Golden Horseshoe Championship in 2019. And, I could go on and on and on, but obviously, having played here myself, my father having coached here, and, growing up in Niagara Falls and watching the Canucks all throughout my childhood, I'm just honored and delighted to be a part of it.
So if people didn't know, Niagara Falls Canucks were in the Junior B ranks, and then last year you got the opportunity to be able to move this team into the Ontario Junior Hockey League, into Junior A hockey. Brandon, tell us a little bit about that transition, because you don't really think about it at first, but man, oh man, is there a big difference between Junior B hockey and what we see now in Junior A hockey?
Absolutely. Frank, from the moment he purchased the Canucks, was interested in moving them, or reclassifying them to Junior A. Frank played in what's now the OJHL with the Brampton Warriors back when he was a young guy, 16 or 17 years old. And it's really about providing opportunity for local players, Matt. Frank tells the story, but when he was 16 years old, he was told that in order to further his junior career, he had to move away from home to play junior A hockey. There wasn't a junior A option here in Niagara. And in fact, there hasn't been a junior A option here in Niagara. We've had the OHL here. We've had the Niagara Falls Flyers and Niagara Falls Thunder and Niagara Ice Dogs. But that's a bit of a different animal. That's professional hockey. That's geared towards players who, are focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's the NHL. An NCAA Division I scholarship. You need to maintain your eligibility. And as a result, you need to continue playing amateur hockey, which is what we are, and at the highest level, which is junior A. So it was all about providing opportunity for local players to play at the highest amateur level without having to move away from home. And so Frank was focused on that from the time he took over ownership in 2014. He had several sort of opportunities, or he got very close, let's just say, over the years. But then finally there was an opportunity where the OJHL had 23 teams, with Leamington having joined as an expansion team. And there was one, they had decided, the OJHL, to go to 24 teams. So there was one franchise available, and they put it out there to all 90-plus junior B teams, junior C teams throughout the province of Ontario, and some different ownership groups and so on. And, I spoke to Frank at the time because, he and I are aligned in terms of our vision, in terms of providing opportunities for local players. And we spoke at the time and said, hey, let's do this. So, 90 some odd page application later, and whatever it was, 100 slide PowerPoint presentation, all kinds of hoops that we had to jump through. We were given that one expansion franchise to join the OJHL in this season. It was actually supposed to be for this coming season, Matt, 2024, 2025, but they gave us an opportunity. They came to us and said, hey, if we can get you in for 2023, 2024, you're interested? And Frank and I said, sure, absolutely, let's go. 2 feet, we're in. And so here we are. I mean, we were a little late to the party last year, as you may remember. We can talk about that now. Didn't get our final approval until June 26th, after almost 4 weeks after the Hockey Canada registry opened for signing players. And so we were really behind the 8 ball last season. Did the best we could, and now are retooling and ready to go for 2024, 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that I take away from especially last season was the passion and the appreciation for hockey, let alone in the Ontario Junior Hockey League, but here in Niagara Falls, in a spot that is filled with. We've already talked about the history, Brandon, on the Niagara Falls Canucks end, but you had also touched on it earlier too, with the Niagara Falls Thunder, with the Niagara Falls Flyers, with the Niagara Ice Dogs in the region. This region is just filled with talented players. Even think back to guys that played in the National Hockey League at the highest stage you could possibly go and play here from the Niagara region. There's plenty of them, and we won't go over that list, but it's a very special time. It's a very special moment here, and hockey means so much to the city of Niagara Falls. When we go and you take a look at, you got the wheels going, you're getting ready to start the season. What's kind of going through your mind as a co-owner? What's going through Frank's mind as the co-owner plus head coach of this team, where you have some preseason games, and then it's game one of the 23-24 season. What's going through your guys' mind at that point?
Yeah, so just backing up again, so we had applied back in March or April of last year. The applications came out, and we went through the application process, the interview process, the preliminary approval at the Board of Directors stage and the Board of Governors stage. So we got through the OJHL, and then we went off to the OHA, and there was lots of discussions, for lack of a better term, that took place at the OHA level, involving the Junior A's, the Junior B's, the Junior C's, senior hockey, and so on. Ultimately, we got OHA approval and finally OHF approval June 26th. We had already at that point had a Junior B prospects camp. So we were left to scramble and say, okay, very quickly, we need to get together a Junior A prospects camp because, we're starting with nothing, basically. We're starting with a Junior B team, the remnants of a Junior B team from the prior year. Some great players. I think about guys like Alex Hebblethwaite and Wolfie Giles and Avery Alves and, some really, really good players. But really starting from nothing. So we scrambled to put together a Junior A prospects camp, which by that point, if you think about it, the OJHL has its combine in May. All the teams get to go and scout and provide opportunities and invitations to their own camps. Players go from the OJHL combine to each team's prospects camp. That usually takes place in May. June 1st, the Hockey Canada registry opens up for signings. The best players are gone immediately. You're working down the list until, you get to June 26th, which is when we got our final approval. Scrambled to put together a Junior A prospects camp. Not overly well attended. The quality just, wasn't there. And we can talk about our camp this year. Tremendous difference from last year. But quality just wasn't there. We did the best that we could. We put together essentially what I would describe as a local Junior B All-Star team with the mindset that they could compete at the Junior A level. We quickly found out that wasn't the case. That the OJHL was just head and shoulders above the GOJHL in terms of skill, speed, size, you name it, and so we went through a bit of a mid-season rebuilding, and fortunately, Frank is as you can imagine, having won a Stanley Cup and played in the NHL and played in the minor leagues and over in Europe, and the fabulous career that he had. He's extremely well connected. He was a player agent as well, extremely well connected, and was able to bring in some talent and do a bit of a mid-season rebuild where it wasn't, it was a good season. We didn't accomplish what we set out to accomplish, which was to make the playoffs, but it was a good season, and now we've got some Junior A assets, right? We've got some good players coming back. Now sign, our property, whereas we started with nothing last year. Frank's done a terrific job in building a team and building assets, and we're excited for this season. We had some hard luck over the course of last season. We'll talk about Cameron Lowe, our captain, in a little bit, but we lost Cameron for half the season due to an upper body injury. I mean, your captain, your top points per game scorer, that's tough. So we had some. We were behind the eight ball to start. We had some bad luck in the course of the season, but we've built some assets. We've got a solid foundation on which to build now. We just had a great prospects camp, which we'll talk about in a second, and we're excited. We're ready to go. We can't wait to get back at it again this year and continue that winning tradition that's we've enjoyed for 53 years since 1971. So pumped up.
So last year you were talking about the first part of the season was tumultuous. There was some ups and downs in there. You talked about that mid-season rebuild, but when that happened, it seemed like whether it was gelling of the right guys together, whether it was guys understanding the play style, the mindset, just going out there and being a little bit more physical and being more intense. But you start to see things come together to a point where we had the opportunity, as me being the color commentator and a gentleman by the name of Kurt Solomon being our play-by-play commentator, being able to, and Brandon, you know this, we go through our routines with meeting with the Canucks coaches, and then we meet with the visiting coaches, to a point where it got to a point where these visiting coaches were almost like, don't go and take this team lightly. This team has playmakers. They have the ability, the drive, to a point where you're knocking off. I mean, Collingwood won the Centennial Cup this year, so it's like they were a juggernaut last year, and then you're able to actually have them come in here into the Gale Center and knock them off, which is a huge high for a lot of these players, and it was a great way to kind of go off. I think that was right near the Christmas break shutdown, and then you deal with the Collingwood Blues, and then in the same breath, later on towards the end of the season, you take down the Trenton Golden Hawks, which were the next best team in the OJHL. Yeah. So you really started to put some fear, some intimidation into these opposing teams because everybody was gelling together, and it seemed like these guys were just buying in.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I wasn't at the Collingwood game, but I think they lost 4 regular season games all year, yep. And one was to us here in the Gale Center. I understand that you and Kurt and my son Easton in the press box were going absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
My son Easton does the hockey tech for the Canucks, and he told me, "Boy, you guys were jumping. It was a great night." And yeah. So the Collingwood Blues. With a full roster, incidentally. Yep. They came in here earlier in the year with some guys at the World Junior A Challenge, and but came in here later in the year with a full roster, and went home on the bus not very happy. And then you're right, the Trenton Golden Hawks, backstopped by Niagara Falls, or not Niagara Falls, but Ben Bonesteel from Fonthill. In goal, and knocked off the Trenton Golden Hawks on a Sunday night here at the Gale Center. We had some really high moments, some really promising moments. But in a 56 game regular season, right? You've got to be there game in, game out, night in, night out, and we just didn't have the depth all season long that we needed to get there. But again, I'm convinced that this will be a different year. And I think guys like Cameron, I'm hoping that he's recovered from his injury, and you look at his statistics from last year, right? He's a 1.5 point per game kind of guy, right? He's 41 points in 30 games, missed 26 games, still recorded 41 points. I mean, you project that over the course of the year. He's probably a 75-point guy, right? And so you miss a guy like that, right? And we're hoping to have him back in the lineup all year long. You look at a guy like Parker Forlan, comes in here last year as a 17-year-old and Scholastic Player of the Year, maintained I think a 96% average while competing in the OJHL. Put up 54 points in his rookie year. So, we're expecting Parker back. So, things are really we're really excited. And as you know, Frank handles all hockey operations stuff. I'm mostly just a fan, right? I deal more with the business side, the community side, the minor hockey side. But just really as a fan, watching these guys game in and game out, I'm really excited to see the guys come back and see the product that Frank is going to put on the ice this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Frank's done a great job with that. And let's quickly speak to Frank for a moment because Brandon, we had the opportunity, myself, Brandon Caputo here with us, even Kurt Solomon for a little bit as well. We got the majority of the time, Brandon and I especially, for the entire weekend, last weekend. We were here Friday, Saturday, Sunday in some way, shape, or form for these games. And you were sitting up there, and it felt so cool, not going to lie. It felt almost like a scout where you're just able to kind of sit there and watch these games. And we're talking with the coaches, we're talking with you. But a guy like Frank, man, the knowledge, he knows so much about this game. He knows the name. He knows the background of every single player that was out there on the ice this weekend. Yeah. Just talk about Frank as a whole, because he's such a huge asset to have for this team.
Oh, what can you say about Frank Pietrangelo aside from the fact that he's a great partner? But listen, Niagara Falls native, born and raised in Niagara Falls, played his minor hockey with the Niagara Falls Minor Hockey Association, played one season for the Canucks in 79-80, 2 seasons in what's now the OJHL for the Brampton Warriors, drafted 3rd round by the Brantford Alexanders of the OHL, earned an NCAA Division I scholarship, played at the University of Minnesota, drafted 4th round by the Pittsburgh Penguins, earned his Bachelor of Science degree, had a 15-year professional hockey career, stops in the NHL, IHL in Europe. He made the save, right, quote unquote, the save in the first round of the 1991 Stanley Cup playoffs, and Stanley Cup winner that year, multiple championship winner in Europe, Niagara Falls Sports Wall of Fame. I'm just in awe of these guys. Remember, back in 79, 80, I'm 10, 11 years old, and I'm going to the Stanford Memorial Arena to watch great players like Frank Pietrangelo, Chris Johnstone, Jimmy Davidson, Marty Dahlman, and all those guys, Jimmy Amadio, and it's surreal for me to be involved here and to be partners with Frank in this thing, right? But you think about not only Frank, you think about Chris Johnstone, right? Frank's assistant coach, another guy born and raised in Niagara Falls, played all his minor hockey in the Niagara Falls Minor Hockey Association's 2 seasons for the Canucks. Went to played NCAA Division III hockey at RIT. He was a 2-time All-American, team captain, coached 1 season in the NCAA. 3 seasons in the OHL as head coach with the Niagara Falls Thunder, head coach of the Erie Otters in the OHL for 1 season, another Niagara Falls Sports Wall of Fame inductee. The knowledge, I'm just in awe of these guys. I'm as a fan, just as a kid, the kid in me, I'm just tickled to be part of it. And, top to bottom. Jimmy Davidson as our general manager. I can go on and on about Jimmy as well. Played for the Niagara Falls Flyers of the OHL. Played for the Dixie Beehives of what's now the OJHL. Scholarship, NCAA Division II hockey at AIC. Has coached at every local level since then. Anthony Tremonte, goalie coach. Most recently, goaltender coach for the China women's national team. Played for the Fort Erie Meteors, Thorold Blackhawks, drafted by the Kitchener Rangers of the OHL. Just on and on and on. I'll take the Pepsi Challenge with our coaching staff and compare it to any other coaching staff in the league, managerial staff, right on down the line. We can't help but have success with the people that Frank has surrounded himself with.
We're going to step aside here, take a quick commercial break. We got lots more on the other side of the break, so stay with us right here on the inaugural episode of the Beaver Dam Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network.
Pets bring immense joy to our homes, becoming an integral part of our families. But this living, loving experience often requires a little extra care and attention. That's where Global Pet Foods comes in, with owners and staff ready to support you every step of the way. Check out one of their locations today. 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family. Proud to sponsor the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara Ice Dogs. J&L Flooring is Niagara's specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride and provide elite customer service and support. With a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety of truly unique products, J&L Flooring is your specialty flooring and decor boutique shop. All of their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced so you can feel good about your flooring choices. Their goal is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity. Offering a unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team, they simplify the process to make your life easier and to make your home more beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road in Niagara Falls or find out more at jnlflooring.com. If you think you can get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack at J&L Flooring.
Niagara Golf Lounge features 2 state-of-the-art indoor golf simulators, allowing you to play some of the world's best courses all year round. The perfect place to indulge all season long. Don't worry about getting thirsty while you play around with your friends. Their fully stocked bar offers a wide selection of drinks, appetizers, and a variety of meals are also available to enjoy before, during, or after you play. Grab a seat next to the fire in their comfortable sports lounge. Didn't bring your clubs? No problem. They have partnered with TaylorMade to offer you the best rental clubs. You won't want to miss their exclusive NFL and NHL giveaways for the Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills. Located in the Best Western Plus Cairncroft Hotel, 6400 Lundy's Lane in Niagara Falls. Visit NiagaraGolfVacations.com to learn more and to reserve your golf bay today. The Niagara Golf Lounge, Niagara's home for golf and sport all year round.
J&L Flooring is Niagara's specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride and provide elite customer service and support. With a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety of truly unique products, J&L Flooring is your specialty flooring and decor boutique shop. All of their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced so you can feel good about your flooring choices. Their goal is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity. Offering a unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team, they simplify the process to make your life easier and to make your home more beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road in Niagara Falls or find out more at jnlflooring.com. If you think you can get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack at J&L Flooring. Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today, 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012. You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network, the Niagara region's best local source for North American sports podcasting coverage. By sports fans, for sports fans.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's inaugural episode of the Beaver Dam Podcast right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Brandon Caputo moderating the chat today between host Matt Sanderson and co-owner of the Niagara Falls Canucks, Brandon Boone. Guys, make sure to give us a follow at Armchair GM Pod as well as this show's Twitter account at Beaver Dam Pod. You can also give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok if you're into all that social media sort of thing. And thank you to those today listening on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Please give us some love, whatever one you chose to listen to us today. So with that said, said on the second part of today's show, Matt and Brandon are going to discuss a little bit about the upcoming season, some players to watch, the prospect camp that just happened this last weekend. And I just want to quickly say, gentlemen, before we get into it, that I'm excited to welcome the Canucks on board to the network. This is a big deal for me, being a Niagara Falls native. I'm going to really age myself here. When I used to be in grade 8, I used to go to the Niagara Falls Memorial Arena and watch the Canucks back in the day. So it's really great to add another league and another perspective to the network. The first installment, I guess the first segment today, was me just absorbing you guys talking about the history of the Canucks and the OJHL and everything that happened last season, because again, I'm the kind of the new guy here bringing this coverage onto the network. So great stuff in segment 1, gentlemen, and look forward to what's going to go on in segment 2. As we look ahead, we looked at the history and everything. You guys broke that down really well. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Matt once again to continue our conversation with co-owner of the Niagara Falls Canucks, Brandon Boone.
Isn't it sad to think for yourself, Brandon, that this would you're creeping towards the 20-year mark since grade 8? So, I mean, it's crazy how time flies. But let's jump right back into it here, Brandon. Last season, we talked about kind of the ups and downs, but there was a lot of promise, a lot of excitement. You guys got some crucial guys back at crucial times. Specifically, let's go and start with Cam Lowe, who I like to deem, and I'm sure you heard in the broadcast a couple times last year, Brandon, Captain Canuck, in the sense of Cameron Lowe. Such a good all-around hockey player. He was so crucial. You talked about him being a point game player, and then all of a sudden around the Remembrance Day time, he goes out with an injury. And he was out for quite a period of time. And then it kind of all of a sudden just came out of nowhere. Next thing we know, he's out for a couple months, and bam, he's back in the lineup and producing in a huge way as well. A guy like him, there's another guy by the name of Alex Hebblethwaite, in the sense that just the lightning, the spark that he brings to your hockey team. You talked about Parker Forlin already. Another guy that you guys picked up near the trade deadline, Braden O'Keefe, who's kind of just a little bit of sprinkle of talent in there as well with what he brings to the ice. So, and then you can't forget Wolfie Giles. Wolf Giles as well really stepped up in a big way, especially actually after Alex Hebblethwaite had gone down for a little bit of time there. So you had Wolf Giles, who had over 30 goals last season. You had Alex Hebblethwaite, who was creeping towards that before, unfortunately, he was out for a little bit. And then you had Cam Lowe. You had a couple of those other guys, as I talked about. Man, if you think you look at those guys and the productivity of them, Brandon, and then if they all come back this year, and then you go and you add a little bit of that extra talent as well that you might go and pick up along the way, this is a dangerous hockey club.
Absolutely. So just speaking about Cam, and the one thing that we're really proud of is our local product, our local talent. One of the reasons why Frank and I did this was to provide opportunities for local players to play at the highest amateur level, right? Mm-hmm. So you got a guy like Cameron Lowe, who he'll be a 20-year-old this year, born in 2004. Cam is the product of two very prominent Niagara Falls hockey families, the Lowe family and the Carter family, and played in the Niagara Falls Minor Hockey Association growing up. Played with the Niagara Falls Rivermen AAA zone. Ultimately went to the Southern Tier Admirals AAA zone. Part of that very strong 2004 team in the Southern Tier. They did very, very well, along with Adrian Diodati, who we'll talk about in a second. Drafted by the Erie Otters, played a couple of seasons in Erie. Came home in the 2022-2023 season, played with the St. Catharines Falcons, put up 34 points in 23 games. And then, we earned our reclassification to Junior A, and Cam was, probably tops on our list in terms of players that we wanted to bring into the organization. Just a natural for our inaugural Junior A captain. Chippewa boy, right? Good local families, quiet leader, OHL guy. And again, put up 41 points in 30 games, basically half the season. You project that over the course of the year, and there you are. Dealt with a recurring upper body injury last year. They think they've solved it. They think they've fixed it, and he came back strong toward the end of the season. Quiet leader, and again, I mostly deal with the business side, the community side, the minor hockey side, and so I go around, take players around with me to schools on school visits and so on. And Cam was always right there with us, just respected in the community, looked up to. We went to St. John Henry Newman Catholic School, and he had gone there. And
represent too.
Yeah, represent. There you go. And to see some of his teachers, and just a real solid guy, and looking forward to having Cam back this year. Yeah. Again, Frank handles all the hockey operations stuff, but all indications are that Cam will be back with us this year as well. I mentioned Adrian Diodati, so 2004 as well. Played with Cameron growing up, another Niagara Falls product. The Diodati family, not Jim's son, Jim's brother's son, so our mayor's nephew. Another AAA player through the Southern Tier Admirals organization, that very strong 2004 team. Played Junior B with the Thorold Blackhawks in 2021, 2022. Went on to play in the Ottawa League in the CCHL with the Navan Grads Junior A hockey in 2022, 2023 before coming home and joining us last season. Just a hard-working guy, blue-collar kind of hockey player, gives you everything he's got, right? Just another real solid kid. Visited St. Mary Catholic Elementary School over by Oaks Park, and ran into some of his former teachers and so on, and he was there with us. And just a solid kid from a solid family, and you love to cheer for those kind of kids, right? You love to see them succeed. And the last one that I mentioned was Parker Forland. So again, it's a 17-year-old last year. Coming out of the Southern Tier Admirals and the Niagara North Stars organization, playing a little bit of Junior B with Thorold, having a great season in 2022, 2023 with the St. Catharines Falcons in Junior B team, putting up 48 points in 49 games. And you would think that, the jump to Junior A might slow him down a little bit. Well, just the reverse, right? I mean, he continued that point per game kind of pace, put up 54 points in 56 games. And for a guy who's not incredibly big in terms of stature, he played all 56 games for us last year.
For sure.
Didn't miss a beat. And here's a kid, Scholastic Player of the Year in the league. Carried something like a 96% average. He's going to get some looks from Ivy League schools next year. There's no question in my mind. Noah Pack, from the Collingwood Blues, is graduating this year and going off to Yale. You're going to see Parker Forland going to an Ivy League school, I have no doubt. Great kid, great Niagara Falls family, and just a consistent point getter, and just an absolute pleasure to watch. Scored some big goals for us, Matt, last year, as you know.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll quickly talk about that in the sense of just letting some of our listeners know that a guy like Cameron Lowe came in, and you talked about his immediate impact. One of the first games that he had back after his injury, Brandon, he gets a hat trick. He was just all over the ice. He was just dialed right in. Then you look at a guy like Adrian Diodati. This is a young kid that started on the fourth line, made his way all the way up to the first line. He was on the penalty kill, and he was just that type of physical guy that you wanted, but could also go and score goals too. So he had a little bit of the best of both worlds. And then Parker Forland, I remember us going and calling at least two overtime winners where Parker Forlan was the one that was able to put the game-winning goal in the back of the net, and a couple of them were absolute beauties. So not only do these kids have talent, not only are they smart, but they're one heck of they're good homegrown talent here in Niagara Falls, and we're fortunate to be able to have them, Brandon.
Great hands. Parker Forlan, great hands, right?
Yep,
Just
absolutely.
absolutely great hands.
So with that, let's go and talk a little bit about the prospect camp that just happened on the weekend. We talked about a lot of Niagara Falls, Niagara region kids. Well, there's even a lot more to be able to go through. We're not going to mention everybody's name. We're just going to go through and talk about the representation here, Brandon, because there's a lot of special players that we were able to see out there on the ice last weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I asked Frank, again, business side of me coming out, but I asked Frank at the end of camp, how'd we do, Frank, you know, compared to last year, for example? And he's like, I think, you know, we did okay. And remembering that we had 2 prospect camps last year, a junior B camp, and then, you know, after we got our final approval, a junior A camp. And he's like, I think we did okay. And then, you know, a few days later, he's like, yeah, we did really well. Oh my goodness, we had 70 plus players, as you know, Matt, from all over North America. I mean, I look at the list here, and I see Colorado, I see Michigan, I see Quebec, I see New York State, I see Minnesota, I see Maryland. You know, just on and up. BC, Texas. You know, again, Frank leveraging his agent contacts, the contacts that he's built up over the years in the National Hockey League and in the junior leagues across Canada and the United States, working the phones, sending emails, and I'm telling you, we had one heck of a camp. And you know, Frank said it at the beginning of the weekend. He called the players in and said, "Listen, you know, we've got some open roster spots, and we're going to fill them right here in this camp." And there were a lot of offers that came out of the camp. We, Frank and Chris and Greg and Tree, they really like what they saw.
I just wanted to chime in real quick, Brandon, because I actually took a note of this, that you're mentioning the local product. Matt brought that up. You had 15 Niagara Falls natives, and then as well 10 extra natives of the rest of Niagara, either players that are playing for Niagara teams or from the area, 15 from right here in Niagara Falls. So how key was that to make sure you had a good amount of local players to have the opportunity, and as well have that diversity that Matt talked about of having players from all over North America, but also providing, you know, the homegrown talent with those opportunities, and what Frank kind of mentioned when he brought everybody into the room that morning?
Yeah, I mean, what an opportunity for a local player. You know, I think about it. I've got 4 children, only one of whom is still playing hockey, and you know, what an opportunity to be able to come to a camp and compete against players from, you know, I'm continuing to look down the list here, Florida, you know, New York, Texas. What a tremendous opportunity. We had some great local talent, some players that we're excited about, players that, you know, will be in our future plans. You know, I think about some of the 15-year-olds, high-end 15-year-olds that we invited out to camp. Luca Nardilli, a young man that I coached when he was 7 and 8 years old here in Niagara Falls. You know, 6'2", you know, 15 years old, and a late 2009 to boot, right? Born in December. You know, he's going to play a role with us down the road. You think about a young man from St. Catharines who came in named Chase Partridge, a 2009, plays for the Niagara North Stars AAA team. Was just, you know, no matter how old they are, if they're a high-end player, they show that they're a high-end player, right? We had some others in here, but just the excitement, really, really exciting to see these players compete against players from all over North America, coming in here looking for roster spots. And, you know, these 2009s, well, so they can't play for us this year, right? They can AP for us. We had some younger players AP for us last year. AP meaning an affiliated player. They can play 5 games. But we had Patrick Babin drafted in the second round of the OHL draft this year, play 5 games for us. We had David Green from Oakville and some others. So, these are some of the up-and-coming players that will likely get opportunities with us this season, get to practice with us, get to play the odd game. And this is what it's all about. At the end of the day, this is what it's all about. Yes, we bring in talent from all over North America and so on. But at the end of the day, if we can provide Niagara Falls players, Niagara region players with opportunities to compete and to play at the highest amateur level, then that's what makes it all worthwhile for Frank and Chris and Jimmy and myself.
Absolutely. And Brandon, you talked about, you told me a story last year at a point where it was weird in the sense that it felt like people knew of the Niagara Falls Canucks, but sometimes maybe they didn't understand necessarily where they would go and play out of, or it seemed like there was always some people that didn't really know too much about the Niagara Falls Canucks, and been around for years right here in Niagara Falls. Yeah. And this is one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast, is not only to represent the team, but also to let people know that, listen, come out to a game at the Gale Center. It is one of the best times you're going to have watching hockey. And I will go and preach that until the cows come home, in the sense that this is fantastic hockey. It's in the Ontario Junior Hockey League, and there's some special players, some special talent here in the Niagara region, and especially here in Niagara Falls. Before we go a little bit further, Brandon, I'd like for you to break down for everybody, because the Ontario Junior Hockey League has a couple of different rules in the sense of lineups, of how many guys you're allowed to go in roster, in the sense of overage players, how many American players you're allowed to have, etc. Because it's a little different from the Ontario Hockey League, where the OHL, you're only allowed 3 overage players, and then you have a handful of import players as well.
Yeah, so we're allowed to carry up to 8 20-year-olds. So those would be 2004s this year. That's the highest age group for the OJHL. You look at other leagues, for example, the Junior Cs. They're able to carry 21-year-olds. Not the case for the OJHL. Not the case for the GOJHL, the Junior B League. We're able to carry up to 8 20-year-olds. So 8 2004s. We're limited to 6 international players, typically U.S. players, and we're limited to 2 16-year-olds. So you've got to be a pretty special player to play as a 16-year-old in this league. I think about the ones that we had last year. As you know, Dryden Allen, drafted in the second round by the Flint Firebirds of the OHL, decided to go the NCAA route, came to us, and had his NCAA Division I scholarship in hand. Geez, I think before we even dropped the puck on opening night, Michigan State, Dryden's off to Michigan State in a couple of years. We had Logan Snyder, a goaltender, one of only 2 16-year-old goaltenders in the league last year, draft pick of the Hamilton Bulldogs, now the Brantford Bulldogs, came in here as a 16-year-old, and we're hoping to see Logan back with us again this year. With that 1 year of experience under his belt as a 16-year-old goaltender in our league, we're hoping that he's going to carry a bit more of the load this year for us. So you've got to really be a special player to play in this league as a 16-year-old. We had 2 very special players last year, again, it's always that Frank spends hours and hours and hours, and he's great at what he does, putting that puzzle together, right? Yep. And I will be, along with you, Matt, and you, Brandon, just really excited to watch the beautiful jigsaw puzzle that he builds for us this year.
So we have just a couple minutes here before we're about to go and sign off. But we talked about this team last year, finished towards the bottom of the standings, but it was the first year the one thing we know about Niagara Falls hockey, we've talked about it already here on the podcast. We've talked about it just in general throughout the arena, around this team, Brandon, is the fact that this is a winning culture, and winning is in their blood. When after losses, like, yes, losses are losses, but there was disappointment around with yourself, with some of the coaching staff last year, in the sense that you didn't make the playoffs, even in your first year. Now, I know you still had a lot of, you kind of had a little bit of the short end of the stick, but that's still what you were aiming for.
Yeah,
and you know, so now this year, it's kind of reloading. This is kind of like your 1A year, in the sense of now you fully are able to move forward. What are your expectations for this year around this hockey club, and what are your expectations just overall going forward for this Niagara Falls organization, maybe provincial events down the road as well?
Yeah, we're excited about this coming season. You know, still some approvals to be put in place, but we're expecting to host the OJHL Governors Showcase here in Niagara Falls in September. That's all 24 OJHL teams that come into town for 3 days and play 2 games apiece in front of 150 plus NHL, NCAA, U Sports scouts. So we're expecting to host that. I mean, hey, listen, you know, I often say it, but you know, we've got the best city in the league, a destination city, Niagara Falls, with the attractions, with the hotels, the restaurants, the golf courses. We've got the best facility in the league in the Gale Center, 4 NHL-sized arenas and so on. We've got the best home arena in the league with Rink 1 here at the Gale Center. I think it's got the highest capacity of all of the rinks in the league. Just a natural to host provincial and national events. So we're hoping to host the OJHL Governor Showcase starting this season in September. We're hoping to host, we had an opportunity perhaps to host the World Junior A Challenge in December. Ended up going to Truro, Nova Scotia last year, but we hope to be on the list for that in the future. And certainly the National Championship. That's one thing when it comes back around to Ontario. You know, that's 9 league winners from across Canada, plus the host center get together. So 10 teams for 10 days in a city and competing for the National Junior A Championship, the Centennial Cup. So we hope to host that when it comes back around to Ontario the next time. And again, we're just a natural for it. We're an automatic. Yep. We've got the city, we've got the facility, we've got the rink, we've got the winning culture, as you said. You know, we fully expect to continue to grow and continue to progress. You've got to remember that I've said it before and I'll say it again, but we were behind the 8 ball last year. Leamington, who also joined the league last year as an expansion team, had a year head start. They were approved 2 years ago to join the league in the 2023-2024 season. We just literally got our approval June 26, 2023. We had 2 months to slap together a team, and hey, we went in with big expectations, not knowing, not understanding the skill, the speed, the level, the caliber of play in the OJHL. So we went in with high expectations. We had some positives, right? 50 plus NCAA Division I scholarships in the OJHL last year. It came out of the OJHL last year. We had 2 of them. Out of 24 teams, right? We had 2 of them, so we had more than our fair share. In Dryden Allen and Alex Hebblethwaite, Dryden Allen, Michigan State, Alex Hebblethwaite, RIT, and Wolf Giles. There were scouts lined up to talk to Wolf at the end of the season. Matt, as you mentioned, as he picked up the slack from guys like Alex Hebblethwaite and Cameron Lowe that were injured and so on. Wolf had a great second half of the season and had, they were lined up outside the dressing room door to talk to Wolfie Giles at the end of the year, right? So we had more than our fair share of success. Scholastic Player of the Year in Parker Forlan. Parker and Dryden in the Future Stars game. We had Connor Thompson-Dick and Alex Hebblethwaite participating in all-star games and so on for our team. More than our fair share of success. Did we make the playoffs? No. Do we expect that we're going to make the playoffs this year? Yes, absolutely. We've gotten our education. Our eyes are now wide open, and here we go. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. Basically, buckle up because this is going to be a fun ride, and we're very privileged to be able to join the Niagara Falls Canucks on that ride. I will be back in the broadcast booth commentating for this season as a color commentator with Kurt Solomon as our play-by-play commentator. You can also watch that on Flow Hockey. And we just thank you so much for your time, Brandon. This was a lot of fun. I'm sure we're going to see you back here on the podcast this season. But we've got a lot of excitement, a lot of things that we want to do this season for this podcast and around this hockey team. So we really appreciate, once again, your time.
Absolutely, guys. And thank you so much. Again, this is a community endeavor, right? And at the end of the day, this is not a professional team like the Niagara Ice Dogs and the OHL teams, right? This is an amateur hockey team, and we rely on guys like yourselves in the community to come out and support us and provide opportunities for these fine young men to succeed, to achieve their hockey goals and their life goals, right? We've got players that are off to university and college and so on, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And Frank and I can look ourselves in the mirror any day of the week and say that, we've provided those opportunities, and Chris and Jimmy and Greg and Anthony and Dr. Gerard, and geez, I go on down the line, yourself and Kurt, and we're all just happy to be part of it. So again, guys, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to working with you guys this season. Couldn't think of anyone better that we'd want to be associated with, and look out for the Niagara Falls Canucks, guys.
Absolutely. And once again, if you have not gone and seen a game at the Gale Center with the Niagara Falls Canucks season this season, make sure that you get your tickets for this year, because it is a lot. It's very fun hockey, and it's great hockey. And come out and just support local. We talk about supporting local in so many different facets. Come out and support your local Ontario Junior Hockey League, Niagara Falls Canucks. That does it for this first inaugural episode of the Beaver Dam Podcast. For our guests, Brandon Boone and Brandon Caputo, I'm Matt Sanderson. We thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back shortly.